We here with another edition of Mental Wealth, the Mental Wealth Podcast. Uh, Allah King Wize right here, also known as Wise Shahid. I was just on a call with I was on a call with a few of my brothers, individuals that I've been mentoring for some years. Some I just started mentoring. Some I've been mentoring for some time now, and so basically we was just going over some things, just building as usual, the usual conversation, life, business, and um, we was on the subject matter of the side effects of things, like when you got good intention, and I was telling them about how good intention is not good enough, and I was speaking about the analogy that I gave the other day in one of the episodes about gravity and how gravity affect a baby and an old lady the same way. Gravity affect everybody the same way, no matter if you're rich, no matter if you're poor, that gravity affect you the same way. So that's what we was talking about. And so then I brought up Kmart. And I was like, y'all remember Kmart? And like what happened to Kmart? And I was talking about how, Walmart came on the scene and crushed Kmart. And how we got to that subject about, when we talking about being in business, we are talking about having sustainability. I was telling them that when you look at anybody that's successful, you have to respect that person, whether you like that person or not. If you're looking at a person that's successful in business, they have maintained their longevity over a period of time, of years. They've been putting in work and putting in work, and they built something and they are maintaining it. For whichever way they are for whichever way they maintaining it, they still maintaining it. And it takes a lot to do that. And you realize that when you build businesses yourself, when you start a company and work on that company to scale that company and to maintain that, it takes a lot. It's a lot of hard work, also a lot of smart work that goes into that. And so that's what, this episode is going to be about today. We're talking about sustainability. How do you sustain in your life, in your business? And how does that relate to mental wealth? So I'm gonna start to get something to interact. They're gonna interact. I'm not gonna bring them up on the live here, but they're gonna be interacting from where it's streaming at. So I'm just sharing the live. Hold on. So yeah, we're gonna share this live right here. We're gonna get into it some more. Okay. Yeah. Interactions going on here. Okay, right here we had little technical difficulties that was taking place, and now we back. So we back right here. We back live. We back live. We back live. Mental Wealth, the podcast. We live. Okay. We about to go into this. About to go into this in a minute. Mental Wealth Podcast live with Allah King Wize, also known as Wise Shahid. We right here on this day. It's election day across the whole country. You know, certain people going out vote. Some people might have already voted. Early voting. What's going on with that? The government still shut down. So that's like the latest news right now. Current events for today, November the 4th, 2025. So let me get a drop in the chat for sustainability. So we can say, let me get if y'all ready, let me get a drop in the chat for mental wealth. Drop mental wealth. Drop in the chat for mental wealth. Mental wealth. So we're doing something a little different today. We're gonna be interacting today. Got some interactions going on. Yeah. I have some questions. See if I got people got any questions. We can go over. Got some people tapping in. Matter of fact, I'm gonna see if I can bring somebody up. Let me bring somebody up from in this right here. What we got today right here, the wealth of your mental. Hold on for a second. We're gonna get it going. We're gonna go. I know y'all ready. I see y'all ready. Y'all ready. I see people coming in, logging in. I see my people on Facebook. I see y'all. So I'm about to enter the studio with myself right quick. Okay. Okay. So we see myself down here. Got that going. Yeah, so we got that going on right there. So we got that's what I was looking for. Got it. Got it. So we about to get ready to go in here with this edition. This edition of mental wealth. That's what we got. Mental wealth. So I'm waiting for someone to come in with us. Okay, there we go.
Peace.
Space. So we live over here. So I'm gonna make room. I'm about to get off, right? I'm gonna get this person off. Make room for you. Peace.
Peace,
You there?
God. Peace. I'm here.
Okay. Great. Okay, so I'm about to start in a minute. I got some people on Facebook coming in on the live because we on Facebook Live. We're gonna be airing on YouTube, but it's not coming up live right now.
That's peace, God. I'm in the world zigzagging, so
I know, I understand. Definitely. So I just got one question before so before you go. Um, we had this type of
I'm
music
here. I'm
before.
here. I'm just letting you know I'm zigzagging, so I'm here. Peace.
Right. Yeah. I understand that part right there. So went through the usual bill here. I was telling some of the people about conversations we were having earlier, and we were just talking about sustainability. We were talking about sustainability of how you see someone that has been successful in what they're doing, meaning that they in the business world, they didn't have their business for some years, and they've been maintaining and sustaining this business. You have to respect that person, whether you like that person or not, because of what goes into um sustaining something like that, to maintain a business, all the different responsibilities that go along with it, because you're dealing with a money making venture. So in order for you to keep it, you got to keep money fed. You got to feed it. You got to constantly feed resources into a business. It's like a child. And then even when it grows up, the business grow up, it still has to eat. The business still has to eat. So let's just take a look at the analogy of a business like a child, right? Startup. We got a newborn baby. That's a new business that you just starting up. Think about all that goes into taking care of a newborn baby. Feed the baby, you got diapers, you got taking the baby to the pediatrician, all these different things that's going into that. And then the baby grow up, and now the baby going off to school if it's not homeschooled, even if it is homeschooled, the time that it takes to educate the baby, or if the baby going out to, public school or private school, the things that got to go into nurturing this baby, the food, the clothing, and shelter. Ultimately, the baby grows up, become an adult, become responsible enough to take care of itself, whether it's a he or she, boy or girl, grow up. And now the baby has to baby, but now this person now has the responsibility to feed themselves, clothe themselves, shelter themselves. So let's look at that as a business. Your business in a startup stage is like a baby. You are pouring a lot into that. You putting a lot of your resources into that. The ultimate goal for that is for the business to be able to take care of itself, for the business to grow up, scale, and be able to bring in a profit where it is able to be responsible for its own existence. So that's the basics of business, to be able to be responsible for your own existence. And so now we're here with Born Reality. He's on camera. So he's someone that's a mentee, someone that I have been working with. I've known him for a long time. So he's actually one of my business partners. He's one of my original business partners for over 20 years. And we have maintained and sustained our business venture for some time. And so today I'm just going to give him an opportunity just to give his point of view on what he have gained from the relationship, from the information, the knowledge that was provided, the information that was provided, which is nowadays called Wizetics. And at one time it was Life and Business Plan, and now it's framed as Wizetics. And they get even more technical with Wizetics OS Life-Biz Infrastructure. That's the evolution of this information and knowledge been packaged for everyone today. And so, yeah, how you doing today? Peace.
Peace, God. Peace. Yeah, how you?
Okay, yes, I can hear you now. So, be real quick. We got, you are in your day, moving around, doing what you got to do. But if you will, just give the people, just a little bit of your experience with this information, with this knowledge, and how you were able to use this knowledge to achieve success for yourself, for your family, and the goals that you set for yourself over certain years, months, and days. And
Peace.
how were you able to overcome the challenges of that? And also add some of the milestones of your success.
Right. So yeah, God. So you mentioned information. So information is first and foremost. One thing I would say is that there's a lot of information out here nowadays, even more nowadays than it was over 2 decades ago when our relationship started. So with that being said, you know, having information is one thing. Comprehending the information is another thing. So I know that, over 2 decades ago when we met, there was certain information that I would gain from our relationship. And it was just information. And then, over time, that information develops into understanding the information. And when you understand it, then it's more easily applied. However, the understanding is the best part, right? Because you can have all this information. If you don't comprehend it, it's nothing that you can do with it. So what I can say for you, Wise, is how you helped me initially was, okay, here's access to this information, but understanding how to use the information was most important. And a lot of times we come from uh, being illiterate in so many ways, not illiterate only meaning we don't know how to read, yet illiterate meaning that we don't have knowledge of what we're, the things that are in society that can be useful for us in our growth and development, talking about whether, sustaining life in general on an economic platform. So understanding how to use the information is very important. So I could go back and say, you know, over 2 decades ago, we were building on OPM, which is still a strategy today of us people's money, how to use the banking system, from building your personal credit, like a bank account here, and then, taking, if you have $500 saved and you put it in this bank account, you open up an account, and then you can borrow from that account, take that money, go open up another account, and keep circulating funds through the bank by doing that strategy, like rinse and repeat. These same strategies apply today in different ways. So that's why understanding the information is very important. So, you know, a lot of times we come from a place where we don't have, financial we're not lucrative financially. I mean, we don't just have access to cash. So a lot of things that we have to do is dealing with credit, building your credit, building your personal credit, which is very important. So that was actually, the beginning stages for us over 2 decades ago, was to build up some credit. And then from the credit, then we can establish businesses. And then over time, these businesses become lucrative, and they, help pay for themselves. One example I can use for that, and I know you wanted me to kind of be short, yet this is a long story, God, because it's
No, go
over
ahead.
two
Go ahead.
decades. It's over
Go
two
ahead.
decades of information. Actually 25 years uh, plus. So uh, one thing that so we started our first company together in 2004, which we still own and operate today, Bees American Incorporated. When we started that business, I mean, we was we were selling products and services in the prison system back in, from 2006, 2007, 2008. We had pen pal services. We were selling music. Uh, and so this was how that business started, even though it was and so we're a consulting firm. So we was consulting with, the brothers behind the wall. If they had certain legal requests, we would strive to help them carry it out. Of course, through your legal battles over 2 decades, the company operated to aid you as well, and other brothers behind the wall. So we was a consulting company that was multifaceted. We had different things that we could provide for our brothers behind the wall. Um, we sustained that for a while, and I would say that the prison system got hit to us. Recognized that there was a brother behind the wall that had a business that was operating in society, and um, he was also had that business flourishing behind the wall. And so when I say behind the wall, I'm talking about in the prison system. And so they found a way to cut us out of that. And I know you could probably speak to different particulars of how that happened. That's another story, though. Just maintaining Bees American Incorporated for years, months, and days as just a business itself. It was a financial burden, regardless of how much money you made. You had to pay your your state fees yearly. You always had to do your annual list of officers. You had to do your taxes. So all these things are things that you have to do annually to maintain your business. So we've done that for 25 years. We've kept income coming in to the company through other ventures that we ventured off to, whether it was commercial cleaning, whether it was uh, owning and operating and setting up vending machines, different ventures that we've been into over the past 2 decades that
Right.
allowed that company to be
So
sustainable.
so
Because
right. So I just want to go back to that part right there. So you saying that the first business model was a corporation, right? It was a corporation, and it was established from humble beginnings by using certain strategies of building personal credit, and then being able to use credit for capital, with the bank, basically having a relationship with the bank on that level, and then formulating Make a Beast American Incorporated, which led to other business ventures, which became commercial cleaning and vending machines.
yeah,
Correct? Is this what you said? Right. So, with going through all of that, could you kind of like explain what was the mental uh part of that? Like, what in going through that? How were you able to navigate the different obstacles of learning the different things that was needed to learn in order to operate these different business ventures? Like, what um challenges were involved, and what mindset did you have to go through those things? Or was the mindset really anything that was necessary? Like, did the mindset have any role in it?
yeah, the mindset was the most important part. The mindset was the most important part. So I'll go to the vending machines first, even though that came after the commercial cleaning. Um, the vending machine venture was a $30,000 cash investment. We bought 10 machines in 2009 at $3,000 a piece. These were brand new vending machines. They called the combo machines. It had 20 snack selections on the top, 6 drink selections on the bottom. We still have several of those machines that we initially bought. We still have majority of those machines. Um, that was a $30,000 investment. Of course, we didn't have the cash, so we used credit. So I would tell you, after those machines got up and operating, the thing that invigorated and pushed me through that, those cycles with the machine is that, first of all, I didn't have to be there every day. And then the second part is when you did go to the machines and you collect the money, I felt like I was in the streets again. Because I mean, to just be having the lump sum of cash in your pocket, it was that kind of hustle for me. And so that was something that was exciting to me about the vending machines, is the cash on hand, not having to, be there and the machine make money. And so one thing I learned from that experience is the science of automation. So like things like ATM machines, these things that you could be making money on while you're not there or while you sleep. These businesses are still making money. I know that wasn't exactly your question, but that was one of the first things that came to
That
my
no,
mind.
that was a good elaboration. That was a good elaboration. So you just explained how um you were able to achieve a $30,000 venture. How you was able to upstart a $30,000 venture of with vending machines, but coming from you already having established your first business, which was Make a Beast American Incorporated, and then you pivot, you pivoted. It still was vending, because Make a Beast American Incorporated was dealing with consultation as well as vending, just in a different aspect of vending. It was vendorship inside the Department of Correction, dealing with that market that is had got monopolized by the system itself. But back in those days, into a market that was like there was nobody there in that market like that. So we were creative to be able to see something that was a place that we could take our struggle, the same thing we did with hip hop, you know, take it and be able to make a business out of it for something that we found ourselves in a certain situation of struggle, and we turned those stumbling blocks into stepping stones is how I would put it. And so now you took a $30,000 venture and went with the vending machines, 10 vending machines. Okay, now that's a wealth, that's a mental wealth mindset. That's the mindset of someone who is looking at the landscape of what's going on in their environment, and then taking that environment and building something from it. Because you got to see there was a demand for that. You looked around and seen, oh, okay, you could put a vending machine over here. I could put a vending machine over here. Because of course we go into stores and places and establishments, we see vending machines all the time, and so that's a great
So,
example. And so
I,
let's
well,
let's move along.
I want
Go
to
ahead.
add something to that because you know we talk about generational wealth, and so how that was applied through the vending machines. I personally ran those vending machines for 10 years. I would say that was a break even venture. I would really honestly say that was a break even venture, but it was a lot of experience. It was a lot of relationship building. Am I still there, God? Okay. It was a lot.
To that, to
I
that.
met a lot of people in businesses in these salons and barbershops and warehouses where these machines was placed at. Just being who we are, as the father said, everything we do in our highest ability. So through that science of living mathematics, I was able to build some great rapport with individuals in different walks of life. So even so, I'm saying it was a break even financial venture over 10 years. Yet when you look at the other things that were gained through it, it was a net positive, if you get what I'm saying. Also,
Right. And so go ahead.
also, after I was out of the business, my children operated these. So my children have never worked for anyone else through their teenage life, through my daughter's a young adult, 18 in college. My son is 23 years old, a owner operator himself. Through their teenage life, they never went outdoors to get income. It was always provided.
Okay, so now I want to emphasize that part, because that's a great part right there. Because what I'm gonna keep doing throughout this live, we on this mental wealth podcast live, is point out certain, for our listeners, for people that's watching, and paying attention to this, and who will go back and look at it later as a recording. He just said that his children have never worked for anyone else, that they have always worked within the family business. So that alone is generational wealth. That is a perfect example of what generational wealth looks like. So this is someone who started a company, Maccabees American Incorporated, with a business partner, then ventured out into other aspects of business ventures with the vending machines. And we still just at the vending machines part now, but he just explained how his children as teenagers worked inside the business. Then as adult ventured out, and that's where we just stopped at, so he can right there. Explain what your son does right now.
So my son is um he's a hauler. He hauls equipment for companies, business to business. He has a business. Him and his old Earth, which is his mother. They established. Let me say something about my son and his business. So this is I think this is important. So when children are in school, they have what you call job shadowing, and so every year job shadowing, my son came with me, and when he would go back to school, he would say, "I'm going to be an entrepreneur like my dad." And so when he graduated high school, he said he didn't want to go to college. And he told his mother what he wanted to do. And they got together. And this is a business now that they own and operate, Treasure Transportation LLC. They've been doing that over 4 years now. And they're being successful and will continue to be successful at that. So, this was a thought that was planted in his mind. So we talk about mental wealth, right? So that directly ties to it because it was a seed planted early in his life where he is now living it out. All praise is
All,
due to
all
him and
praises
his
do.
old earth.
All praises do. And so the all praises do go back even further, right? So the all praises do actually goes back to you in that regard. Because you know how we say we give each other flowers while we here type of thing. So and that's another reason why we here with this podcast, this mental wealth podcast live. Because we want to give people living examples. Because you got a lot of times people is like putting this information out there about life and business, and it's really philosophical. And okay, not to knock nobody, because everybody have what they got their story. So now what we are doing is sharing the story that we have. I'm sharing my story. My story is incorporated with others. This is the branch of the tree that goes out to different people, and there's many others that are able to provide testimonials from their life and their business. Some they might have just went more strong just from a life standpoint and not from a business standpoint. But one thing about it is, as long as you continue to move and operate and stay consistent, that is the success within itself. Because most people give up. Some people never even start. So let's look at that part. You got some people who never start. Then you got some who start and then they give up. But the ones who succeed are the ones who start and don't give up. They keep moving despite the different challenges, the obstacles, and the setbacks. All those things become nourishment for the success. And that's what a lot of people they don't recognize that part. So that's why you got to have a coach, you got to have a mentor, you got to have someone who can give you certain guidance. Because just like I always say, even Steph Curry got a coach, even LeBron James got a coach, even the greatest of all time, who they say Michael Jordan, had Phil Jackson. So this is why we emphasize what we emphasize with Wizetics OS Life-Biz infrastructure. Do you think this would have happened if you would have never took the time to what you learned from your interaction with me? And this is not like a boasting statement, me bragging or boasting, but we're talking about life and business, and we have to be real about it. We're dealing with real time, real life consequence situations. So do you think it would have been possible without the mentorship that you received from all these years?
So all praises due. I would say that first, right? All praises to you, Almighty. I'm gonna tell you why. So I've always been a hustler. Like I could always say that because I could go back in my life and just see all the different hustles I had from the time I could go outside on my own, 4 or 5 years old in my neighborhood in the Bronx, right? So, yet, if there was a point where I met you in my life that through our relationship, through the information, through the mentorship, that you allowed me to see some things within myself, which, allowed those next steps to happen. So that would answer the question would be, there's no other point of that I see in my life where the information came in that was very sound. I mean, God, I could go back to when we first met, right? Like that initial point when I said something to you, and I can get into that history, but real shortly is that I was around a whole lot of people that said they were us through my time behind
Right.
the wall, incarcerated. Out for 3 years before I met you, I was around a lot of people who said they were us. Yet I never told them, yo, I like what you got. Can you help me out? Until I got transferred where you was at, and still I was around a lot of individuals who said they were us. Yet in the midst of all those individuals, I only seen one that had the magnetic, which was you. And I pulled you to the side and I told you who I was, where I've been. And I remember one thing you said to me. I um I no later on in life I said, yeah, God, what made you want to help me establish, the foundation of Allah's mathematics, um, our nation? What was it about me that made you say, okay, yeah, I'm gonna add on with this brother right here? And you told me that my answer that is because I told you that I would be dedicated. I don't know if you recall.
Right. I remember that.
Right.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
you saying that. And so, yeah, definitely. And that's just some history. That's like over 20 years ago history, right? So now you can see my age, even though I look young how I look. But yeah. But what we're talking about relationships. Business is about relationships. This is the part. I posted this the other day. I was reposted something on my IG on my story. What business is about? Making money. It's about leaving a legacy, making a living for yourself. Yet you really can any of that without meaningful relationships. So yeah, you in business to make a profit. Yes, you want to that you could leave to have generational wealth, but none of that can exist. None of that can take place without relationships. So the real operations of business is building relationships. And you have to have a certain type of mindset. You have to be a certain type of person to build relationships where they are sustainable. So we're talking about sustainable relationships, being in communication and having a certain type of coexistence and partnership with someone over a period of years, months, and days. So now let's like emphasize this part right here because we're talking about the mindset. That's the mindset foundation. The knowledge itself. That's the foundation for that mindset to be a point to start to build wealth. When you talk about mental wealth, transferring over to tangible material wealth. So when we go back to 2004 and we're talking about Make a Beast American Incorporated being set up. So here's some information I want to like let the people really get. We in our 20s at this time. We in our 20s, right?
I'm
So
in my 30s, God. I think I'm like
we are
7 years.
talking
I think I'm like 7 years your senior.
hell no. You got me. You get me.
Hold on, God. Yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah. Four
like
years,
3 years,
4
years.
years, 4 years, 4 years. Oh, yeah, my
Yeah,
bad, my
yeah,
bad.
yeah.
77. Yeah, my bad. God, you said, look at your look. So I'm looking at you. I said, hold on, this guy like 7, 8 years younger than me. But yeah, you right. 4 years.
Nah, nah.
4 years.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is formation. I'm talking about business formation. Because so we got the foundation of the knowledge itself. We got the mental part. That's the life part. So now we're talking about the business part. The information that was provided from the business side is company formation. Also the credit, because that was the foundation too. This is how you get your credit right. You go establish yourself with the banks this way.
Let me
You run
add
that
something real
strategy.
quick. Let me let me say this real quick to that credit thing is even when we started Maccabees American Incorporated, we used a company to set that up for us, and that was thousands of dollars, which we didn't have liquid. We also used credit for that as well.
Right. Understandable. And the thing of what it is that company was just a registered agent. What I'm saying? So we use a registered agent. Yet when we talking about company formation, so let me give a backstory. Prior to establishing Maccabees American Incorporated, I had already established the Black Application Development Incorporated. So I was 22 years old, and the Black Application Development Incorporated was a nonprofit that was put together with me and my brother Sincere. So I was the president, he was the vice president. And so this is going back to company formation. This is before Google. This is before all of that. This is where you had to go do the hard footwork yourself. Going to the library, knowing the books to get, because you got to know what you're looking for. So it's a whole lot that goes into this that most people don't realize. It's a fine miss that most miss. So you got to know what you're looking for before you can go find what you're looking for. And then you got to know where to look for it at. So sometimes you don't know what you don't know. So we take for granted a lot of this information. So this is why I'm able to charge 15,000, 10,000, 7,000 to 3,000 for life and biz coaching and consultation, because this is information that have occurred through real live learning, putting in the right work, going through the necessary steps that it takes, not just looking for scam, some type of shortcut that takes away from the integrity of what need to be done. This is history of years and months and days of study, practicing, application, and seeing results. So the business formation, we formulated a corporation that has stocks. So it's a stock corporation. I'm not going to go into all the details of all of that. We did this in the 20s, when in our 20s, right? You see, so where we at today, this 2025. And so this is where we go into another level. This is why we are having this podcast the way we having this podcast, the Mental Wealth Podcast Live, because we want to get the underdog, the underserved, to become unstoppable. And we giving you information that's real lived experiences, not just something that you just got from a book, because some of the information did come from the book, but over years, months, and days of practicing and applying this on the way. So we formulate this corporation, stock corporation, then venture out. Now you go to formulate LLCs. And then we got other business ventures that's taking place, getting involved in franchises, buying into franchises, you know. So these are all business strategies. And I've put it all together in one framework. This is what I call, Wizetics, the book Wizetics. I just put it all together in one framework. All the things that you hear me talk about and what me and my partner right here, this is my business partner, that we are talking about, I just summed it all up. I summed up years and years of business, of life and business experiences, information. And so, of course, as time changed, you must change. So we got the technology. And this is where the Wizetics OS comes in. So Wizetics OS, Life-Biz infrastructure, is now I've taken this information, this knowledge, and put it in the form of technology, where now we have it forms Wise Network Academy, smart website development, automations, AI. All of this is put together in system, business in a box. It's a one-stop shop. This is what we have going on. This is what we are offering to different people. And we're not really just, it's partnerships. We establishing partnerships because just what I said was business is about building relationships. So this is a point of contact for relationship building because your success becomes my success. It becomes our success. So I'm gonna get back to you, Born, with this right here. Okay, so you've got the vending machines. Now where do you go from there in your business journey?
Peace. Pardon me, I had muted. So, like I said, I went to the vending machines, which were latter first. Yet prior to that, like you said, we franchised. We started looking at franchises, things that were already set up that we could just jump into that frame and grow from there. We did that with commercial cleaning. We still operate that today. That was we had as many as 8 accounts at one time. The goal is always to keep one, and so that's still there today. That's still operating today, and we can look into growing that again at
And that's
any
called
time.
sustainability. Sustainability. That's what that is. Sustainability. Okay, keep going, brother.
And good standing, like you. And when you start the franchise, you're going under someone else's format and model. They want you to upkeep certain things, so you have to be at their standard. So that means you can't be lackadaisical. You got to keep up the name and all those things. So that right there is another challenge. You got to be dedicated. You got to be right and exact. You got to be, righteous, I would say. So that was in 2006 to current day. So that's what 19 years now. Okay. So then
Right.
the same time of the vending machines, other opportunities started to present themselves. And so that's the one thing about moving right and exact is that there's always going to be more opportunities for you to, incorporate if you're moving right and exact and if you and you got mental wealth. So what is mental wealth? For me right now, I would say according to the statement that I just made, mental wealth is already having in your mind what's the next move? What's the next move? So you always got to be, projecting forward to what's next. And opportunity presented itself for, see me in this truck right now. I'm in a box truck. And so that deals with another distribution business. And be
So you've been doing so you went from street vending to corporate vending.
true indeed, from street vending to corporate vending. That's the transition that most of us should have made. Some of us should have made. So yeah, and yeah, I'm in this box truck. So this venture has been going on. I got in this business in 2009. Same time the vending machines was bought, this opportunity presented itself. So now I'm doing vending machines, and I got into this new venture with selling bread. Quick plug: Pepperidge Farm Bread Distribution, owned and operated MBZ Vending LLC in C Mecca, that's Charlotte, North Carolina. The bread industry is a American staple. Um, Even when you had the Great Depression in the 30s, people were still, bread was still very important because in all the soup kitchens they were serving bread, and manufacturers still had to produce this product. So got into that business just
Okay.
huh?
Okay. So hold on. Let me put this in the frame. Let me put this in the framework right here for the people that's watching, for those that's watching. So um you said you went from Maccabees American Incorporated to the vending machines. From the vending machines, you went to you got the
Cleaning franchise was
franchise.
first, then the vending machine.
Okay, okay. So let's go back. Maccabees American Incorporated. the franchise, cleaning franchise, commercial cleaning, vending machines, and then into uh the delivery of
Pepperidge Farm bread.
Pepper's Farm, the bread delivery.
Yes.
Right, Pepper's Farm bread delivery. So those are all vending. I don't know if you ever
So
realized
big.
that. Did you? I don't know if you
Yeah.
realized that or not. You've been in the same
To a D.
market, the same
To a
exact
D.
market. It just evolved into different areas. The only thing I would say would be a slight difference
Cleaning.
is the commercial cleaning. Right. Nevertheless, all these things, sustainable businesses, we're talking about real world consequences, not a bunch of fluff. You know, hear a lot of people extravagant stories and talk about private jets and all of this. Okay, how long are you going to keep that? Okay, yeah, you go and got your little money, you got $50,000 credit line, 100K credit line. Okay, you got that. But what you might not have is the mental side, the mental wealth. See, discipline, strategy, and proper operations are what we're talking about in mental wealth. So this is a brother who have came from humble beginnings, practically lost everything, literally was homeless, right? Because if you get caught up in the criminal justice system, your justice impacted. So you lose even your voting rights. So these are things that were lost. And now you starting basically from scratch. But what you still got that you didn't lose was your mind. So now because you got the mind, you got the right knowledge of yourself, it gives you the direction that you need to know how to navigate and maneuver with the right information. And so we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about generational wealth. The brother said his children have never worked for anyone else. They always have worked within the family business. We got. So you
Thank you.
know you got you
Hold
got
on, let me
you got to
real
give.
quick. So my
Go
daughter did try to
ahead.
go to Texas Roadhouse and get a job before. I was saying, yo, Nate, you don't gotta go out get no job. You could work right for the family. And she was like, no, 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 no. And they had their foot on her neck, and she ended up quitting. Shortly
Right,
after, and then she
right.
came to work for the family. So she went to
Oh, now
college.
now that you say that, I remember that now. I remember that now. I remember that part. Right, right. So
Yeah,
again, when we talk about generational wealth, this is a part that a lot of people miss. So again, don't get caught up in the glitter because everything that glitter is not
that
gold. And what I'm saying about that is sometimes we look at all these other things that we see outside of us, outside of where we at, and it looks more appealing to the naked eye, right? That's debating. So when you see all these other people out here talking about, I got life and business coaching, I got that. How long have you been doing what you're doing? How many people have you touched with your information and impacted their life for transformation? And what is their state and status today? Now, we're not just talking about what the material status is, because the material, you can rob somebody and get some material stuff. But what you can't rob is the mind. You can't rob somebody and take their mind from them and put it in you.
hey,
But you could take.
gotta add,
Yes, go
right?
ahead.
Because what you're saying brings back something else that was a seed planted in when I left you that day I left you behind the wall in 2000. And so my parents came. So something else you said I want to say real quick too, right? You said I was almost homeless, but one thing I did have was I had great support.
You still was homeless.
I know I true, but I had
So let
great
me
support.
explain the homeless part. What people don't
Okay.
realize. What? So what a lot of people don't realize what homelessness is. If your name is not on the lease according to the system,
You don't got a
you're
home.
homeless. You don't have a
True.
home.
Right,
You're
exactly.
homeless.
Right, exactly.
So you can be laying on the couch. You can be laying wherever you want, wherever you
That's
want
a
to
fact.
stay.
That's
Yeah,
a fact.
life and business. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about. So we strip away the fluff.
You're
See, a lot
right,
of
God.
people,
100%.
um no. I'm not still talking about that. I'm just speaking in general to make the point clear. What separates this podcast from other people podcasts? What's separating this information from? Because there's a lot of information out there. So I just want to make it clear that when this is being broadcasted, we're giving you real time. And when I say real time, I'm talking about reality. Sometimes reality doesn't look good to the eyes, sometimes, but it's good for the soul. And when you're able to deal with reality, reality don't have to deal with you, because if you don't deal with reality, reality is going to deal with you. And when it deal with you, it don't pull no punches, right? So that's why I wanted to emphasize that part about saying homeless. The reason why I use that term, because it's actually a term that's within the system of economics of life on a social level, right? But to paint a great picture of coming from one point and evolving to another point. So you went from being homeless to a homeowner.
Right. So check it out. So I wanted to go back to something that was a seed planted, but you was talking a lot about reality, and my name is Born Reality. You gave me that name. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it fit. Like, over years, months, and days of living that out. Yet, when I was going home, the day I got released from prison, you gave me a letter and you said, "Yo, God, read this on your way home." You remember that?
Yes, I remember that.
Remember, you know what was in that letter?
Yeah,
I don't.
I can't remember what was in the letter.
Look, all I know, I don't
I
remember.
remember that.
I don't remember exactly what was in the letter, but all I know that I got from it was like, "Yo, God, when you get out there, your focus is not on nothing else that anybody got, what they doing, what they got going on, what their girl look like, what their car look like, none of that. You have to be focused on yourself, and that's the mental wealth right there." So I just wanted to tie that back in, because that was over 2.5 decades ago.
Definitely, yes. That's a fact right there. So
Oh, we was at so
again,
we was at
we don't have to.
Ponsel God. We was at the next venture, which is the bread. So I know I just wanted to say where we was
Right.
at.
I was still, yeah, yeah, as I go along. Keep in mind, to the broad to people listening and watching. We live. This is not cut up, dressed up. Again, the reason why we do these things in the way that we do it, because our situations are real. A lot of us are in situations that we don't have to be in. So a lot of times, people information dressed up a certain way just to get your money. They want you to pay this money for this information, and they project it to you in a way to pay for it. And then you get caught up in this thing where it's really not what you expected. It's really not what you really need. So where we're coming from is giving you real step by step processes. And like I just said, this individual, this brother right here, he went from being homeless to a homeowner. And I know he said we stopped at the bread venture that he had, right? So I'm just emphasizing these things to show you the testimonial, the evidence. Because when we start to say um we provide an information that people could use to transform their life from one level to the next, you got to have an example. What is an example of someone's life that you have transformed? So this is someone that, from our interaction, our relationship, went through a transformation that led to his children. Because he didn't, when we first met, he didn't have children, and then he had children, and then now his children are adult. He have a daughter that's in college to become a lawyer. He have a son that's an entrepreneur doing what he's doing. These are success stories. And that's the success story that most people look at on their face. But the greatest success story is the state of mind that you have when all of this is taking place, and the state of mind that you presently have today. So even though you could achieve all the material things that you achieve, if you lose your mind in the process, what was it all worth? And if your children don't carry it on after you're no longer here, what was it all worth? Now, you could build some things that become so extravagant that you become a household name where it could carry on outside of your children. That is supreme when you can take it to that level where you're building something that's so impactful to the world that even in your physical absence and in the absence of anyone that's blood related to you, that it still exists. That's real legacy. So back with the bread venture.
Yeah, God. I mean, I'm in the truck now. Just to go back to where you started, man, what it takes is definitely you got to be mentally wealthy, meaning a great state of mind. But then, we know it's two parts. We know it's mental and physical, and when you talk about the physical, it's like all blood, sweat, and tears, God. It's all blood, sweat, and tears,
Yeah,
you know. And like
definitely.
you always got to feed the baby. So you spoke about the baby and the baby being an adult, but I got adult children, and I still got to feed them sometimes. So it is with the business. The business is an adult business, but we still got to give it, what it needs at some time. And
Yes, definitely. Because so this is where scaling with the information. As you scale with the information and the application of information, you scale with the business. So this is why the coaching is still necessary. See, I have business coaches. I have coaches, and I'm a coach. So investing in yourself, I did episodes about investing in yourself, investing in your business. See, the life journey is forever learning. That's the life journey. The life journey is forever learning. Forever learning what? Forever learning the necessary things that you need that will allow you to experience a higher level of living, to experience greater experiences of love, peace, and happiness, because life is constant elevation. So for every level, there's another devil. For every new level, there's a new devil. So the struggle is categorized based off the root. Now you can create unnecessary struggle, which is you're not having the right information and you making decisions that produce unnecessary struggle. But then there is natural struggle that's going to take place regardless to whom or what. Small example. As a baby, the teeth comes in with a baby. The teeth is painful as it come in. It's called teething, right? Those teeth going to fall out one day, no matter what the baby do, no matter what the baby eat or don't eat. The baby teeth going to fall out. A new set of teeth are going to come in. Once those new set of teeth come in, the way they remain is going to be based off of what that baby put in to the child put it into their mouth. Whatever they do or don't do will determine how those teeth exist, whether they got to get pulled out because of a cavity or they just fall out when you get older, as you go into your old age, and that's just that natural order. But you could create unnecessary struggle by eating the wrong foods, and then you have cavity. That's how life is set up. It's certain things that you go through that's a natural struggle. Then there's other things that you go through based off of your decision. Some things you're going to take place, some things are going to take place as a struggle, no matter what take place, meaning that no matter what the baby do, the pain from the teeth ain't going to take place. So that's why this information is so important, to be able to use it and, and constantly get more information. So we're talking about AI, and I'm going to end with this part. AI has been predicted to take away a lot of jobs in the market, in the labor force. But what jobs is it going to take though? What jobs is it going to take away? Amazon just laid off a lot of its workers, but what did those workers work in the warehouse or were those workers working in the office? So that's what you got to look at. So now it's about staying ahead, become innovative. So this is what we are providing with life infrastructure. Wizetics OS Life-Biz infrastructure is showing you how to be ahead, to be a leader. Not you always have to react to something that has been presented to you in the market. Somebody create this. Now you got to figure out how you're going to navigate your life around what they created, such as AI. It was put there by people creating solutions to problems. They was creative. They saw certain things, they put their mind to it, and they structured it the way they structured it. You have the capabilities to do the same thing, but if you're not motivated, if you don't have the right information, you don't have the right guidance, the right mentorship, you're not going to do it. So this is what we are providing. We providing that. What you guys say?
Oh, I want to add to what you said about AI that some of us might not be thinking about. So I would just point to the cleaning industry when you talk about what jobs AI is going to take. So certain things, for me, I'm looking at, okay, how do you expand the cleaning service? Because that takes manpower. But if your financials is right, if you got access to credit, or you got um, you know, money saved, yet you can still use credit, right? I would say for the cleaning business, it's about getting some of these, if you go on Walmart, you see now Walmart has the floor sweepers automatically going through the store, cleaning the floors. So for me as a um, cleaning service provider, my thing is, okay, need a few robots that I can, activate in these buildings, these machines set up in these buildings that, it might not do every detail of the job, but if I need the floors done, or the floors vacuumed, or certain floors mopped, then this machine will go through the building and do those parts of the service for me. And, whoever else can go and do the rest, whether it's cleaning the toilets or the urine, but they even have machines that can do that as well. So moving into the AI, I would say, and what I noticed in the cleaning industry is for years I put people to work in the cleaning services. Yet when people don't have an owner mentality, times those standards, and remember I spoke about Jam Pro standards earlier. A lot of times when we hire people, um, to do these jobs, there is not where it needs to be. So we have to financially position ourselves to, buy some machines that operate under artificial intelligence. And so I'll say that about the cleaning. I know a lot of truckers. I know a lot of guards and people that drive trucks. And when we talk about car automation, then did I say it right? Yeah. So right, when we
Automation.
talk about that, if you're an owner operator, you got your own authority in the trucking business, you need to be thinking 10 years out what that industry is going to look like. How many automated trucks are going to be on the road? And how you fit in that scope. Will you be able to buy you a truck that's fully automated so that while your trucks is running, you can be doing something else? So I just wanted to talk, plug that in when we talk about the future of AI.
Right.
Peace, God.
And that's why you need to come to Wizetics OS Life-Biz infrastructure. We got you. Whichever way you're striving to maneuver, we have everything that you need to get to the next, to be sustainable in the times that's changing in the era of AI. This is where we are specializing, and that's why the first part of the title of our business model is Wizetics OS. The OS is operating systems. Wizetics operating systems, and it's systems with an S. So we are constantly providing avenues to show you how to add these different things into your business. And but most of all, as we always say, how to think about it, how to have your mindset to be able to know how to strategically maneuver and stay on top and not become extinct like a dinosaur. As times change, you must change, or you're going to die. Your business is going to die if you don't evolve with the time and become someone that's an innovator of the time, to be a trendsetter, a trailblazer. This is what we are providing you with. And so this is what we also have. We got the Wise Network Academy, and you can go to Wizetics OS. Excuse me, hold on. You can go to wisenetworks.biz and you can see everything. You can look at all the different business options that you have. If you need lending, your business need funding, you need capital, we got access to partners to link you with funding. You need a coach, one-on-one coaching, I got the one-on-one coaching for you. You need smart website development, we got smart website development. You need automated CRM, we got automated CRM. It's business in a box, a one-stop shop. Wizetics OS Life-Biz infrastructure, we take you from underserved to unstoppable. That's our episode for the day. We got many more guests that's going to be coming on. Stay on the lookout. We haven't got a set schedule yet of how we're going to be rolling these lives out. Pop up shop. We just pop up, come, we just flooding the algorithm right now. Keep flooding the algorithm. Get this information out there because it's transformational. Ultimately, we are reshaping America. We are changing our communities by providing the proper information that allow a person to make better decisions, more informed decisions that will allow us to create generational wealth, not just for us as individuals, but for our communities as well. Peace.
Peace.